Today we're going to read Tiny Whale by Joshua George. It's illustrated by Pi Pinillos. Let's read the blurb to find out what the story's about. When a little orange fish with a very big family feels ignored, he starts to look for attention elsewhere. This funny tale about bravery, friendship and very big fibs shows that sometimes even the littlest of fish can make a big difference. Let's see what the story's about. Gerald had so many brothers and sisters and cousins that he felt quite unimportant. His dad hardly ever took him to play in the seaweed forest. His mum hardly ever read him stories. Even his best friend Gordon didn't remember his name. Hi Gordon. Hi Gavin. Gerald, Gavin. Unbelievable, thought Gerald. I look completely different to Gavin. Gerald was tired of being a small orange fish on a reef full of other small orange fish. So one day Gerald decided to set off on an adventure. Goodbye Mum, goodbye Gareth. Ridiculous, thought Gerald. I look completely different to Gareth. Gerald, Gareth in their Year 3 school picture. After a long, tiring and scary swim, Gerald finally found himself at another reef. He was glad to be somewhere safe. The reef looked like the one at home, but the fish were blue, not orange. As Gerald rested, he watched a group of fish playing hide and seek. I wonder what's going to happen on this new reef with all the blue fish. Hey, one of the blue fish shouted. I'm Charlie. These are my friends, Chuck, Chip, Chad and Chet. Ooh, what do we call that when words all start with the same sound or letter at the beginning? It's alliteration. What sort of fish are you? He said. Gerald paused for a second. I'm not a fish, he said. I'm a whale. The blue fish seemed impressed. Why do you think he said he was a whale and not a fish? Yep, I'm a whale, said Gerald, and I just swam across the whole ocean. That's amazing. Ooh, tell us more. Wow. Sometimes I swim down to the bottom of the ocean and catch enormous squid, he boasted, and I'm not even scared of sharks. Hey everyone, come and meet Tiny Whale. I thought whales would be a bit bigger. Gavin stayed with the blue fish all day, enjoying the attention and telling tall tales until it was time to go home. The next day, Gerald returned, and soon there was a big crowd of blue fish listening to his stories. Hey guys, it's Tiny Whale. Is it true you once jumped over a ship? How big is your mum? Gerald stayed for tea, which was pretty much like the tea at home, but bluer. All the fish gathered in a cosy cave with a small entrance at the top. Gerald was introduced to the oldest and wisest fish of them all. He wore a headscarf and an eye patch, and he squinted and blinked. He listened to Gerald's stories. Gerald didn't like the suspicious look in his eye. It seemed like a good time to go home. But it wasn't long before Gerald decided to visit his new friends again. However, this time when he arrived at the blue fish's reef, it was quiet and empty. Where was everybody? Where do you think they've all gone? What's happened to the blue fish? Gerald thought he heard a noise, and then he saw it. A huge boulder sat right on top of the entrance to the blue fish's cave. Here's the boulder. A boulder is a large rock. An eye appeared in the crack at the bottom of the boulder. It was one of the blue fish. Hey, Tiny Whale, he said. Is that you? We're all trapped underneath this boulder. Thank goodness you're here. Can you move it? We're so lucky we made friends with a whale. Yep, said Gerald. Lucky I'm a whale, this should be easy. Gerald strained and pushed until his muscles shook, but the boulder didn't move. Gerald pushed and strained until his flippers went floppy, but still the boulder didn't move. Wait there, he shouted down the crack. I'll be right back. Gerald swam faster than he'd ever swum before, and soon he was back home. Stop everybody, he yelled. Listen! But nobody stopped. Listen, he shouted, but no one listened. Gerald picked up a shell. Listen, he trumpeted. Everybody listened. Hey, it's Godfrey. I really need everybody's help, said Gerald. Quick, follow me. What do you think they can do? Can you make a prediction about what's going to happen next? The entire school of orange fish sped across the seabed with Gerald leading the way. Gerald, and there's the school of fish. A school of fish, that means a group of fish. None of the creatures in the sea had ever seen anything like it before. We need to move this boulder. There are fish fish trap beneath it, said Gerald. Ready, he called. Now! The fish pushed and pushed and pushed. The boulder moved a tiny bit, then a little bit more, and then with a sea-shuddering crash it rolled away from the cave. Out of the cave streamed hundreds of cheering blue fish. We're free! Yippee! Woohoo! The oldest and wisest blue fish came swimming slowly towards Gerald. Thank you, tiny whale, he said, and gave Gerald his headscarf. But how did you recognise me? Asked Gerald. Because you're the only whale, said the old fish. As he blinked, or maybe winked, it was difficult to tell. Everybody cheered. Gerald couldn't believe it. Finally, everybody knew who he was. Can you spot Gerald? Can you see him anywhere on the page there? The end. I really enjoyed that story. Did any of your predictions that you made along the way come true, or was it a different outcome? Were there any new words in there today that you learnt? Did you have any questions about the text? Perhaps discuss your questions with your adult and see if you can go back through the story on the video and find out the answers to any of your questions. I hope you enjoyed that story as much as I did.